Hello there. I just heard the news about Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and he's finally gone, and it seemed to be on the cards for a bit. I was at my local church today, helping with sort of tidying up the churchyard, and the subject came up there at the end as to what Welby knew and for how long he may well have known it. And then I watched a few things on YouTube about it and saw Gavin Ashenden speaking. I follow his channel that he does with two other people. Can't think of their names just now, but it's called Catholic Unscripted. I quite like Gavin Ashenden. I think he's an interesting guy, and I like to hear him speaking. But he was very adamant that he believes, and he said, well, Justin Welby knew about this person, John Smythe, and that he knew about him much further back and would have known, and should have known, would have known. And then once he'd got the position, i.e. when he was sort of working his way up the greasy pole in the Church of England, Justin Welby, that is, and that he should have known before and would have known before. So once he'd got this role, he should have then done something about it. And then the idea that this person, John Smythe, who not only forced himself onto young boys, I believe, but also physically harmed them with beatings, apparently. But he was moved to Africa, to several different African countries, and this is all while Welby knew about him. Just let him run riot out there and commit further offences. Gavin Ashenden was quite adamant, said, he should go today. This is just before he'd heard that he had finally gone. I've always found Justin Welby very strange, and I watched another clip from another video channel, just saying, somebody was making the point that he was constantly making political interventions and sort of speaking about everything, about his moral positions on everything, and involving himself in political viewpoints about Brexit and all sorts of stuff, Justin Welby. And yet, if he absolutely knew 100% that this person was committing these crimes, and then didn't stop him still officiating in some way or working in Africa in some way. I don't know the full details as to what his role was in Africa, this person, John Smythe, but I think it was under the aegis of the church still. If he facilitated that in any way, Justin Welby, or with the buck stopping with him, and everyone that facilitated that, I just said to my friend in a message, I said, it shouldn't just be about them stepping down and writing a kind of wishy-washy letter, making some excuses, and then professing how much they love the church. Should it not be that whether they can be done for something criminal thereby, my friend said, perverting the course of justice, or some criminal action against them, and if that's not possible criminally, then the victims of this person, this John Smythe person who's now dead apparently, and some of his victims have committed suicide, harmed themselves. They harmed themselves permanently. And there's even was talk whether there was potentially a homicide as well involved in it, I think in Africa as well, related to this person. But if Justin Welby knew and effectively allowed this person to carry on, just sort of sanctioned it essentially, that he should go to Africa and different countries and clearly was going to carry on in the same vein he'd carried on right from the 70s, apparently, on these summer camps, these kind of Christian camps. If not charge Welby and everyone else who's responsible with criminal actions, criminal negligence, by facilitating this person. Apparently he said this is what Gavin Ashenden was saying, that Welby has said, oh well, we handed it over to the police and then it all got lost in this bureaucracy, but nothing was actually done, and this guy was just allowed this continued free reign. Well, it's such a level of negligence that I think it sounds to me like a form of criminal negligence, doesn't it? And if not that, then the victims that are in this country, who would now be quite old, many of them, and those in Africa, to personally sue Welby and everyone else involved in facilitating that person and covering up their actions and allowing them to continue in their criminal offending, which sounds like what's happened. Unless I've misunderstood it, I don't see why that doesn't happen. Sue Welby for everything he's got, absolutely, and everyone else in that structure of the church, in that hierarchical structure that facilitated that individual to continue offending while knowing it was going on. Is that practical? Is it potentially possible? It seems like a moral outcome to me. It seems like moral retribution or an accountability, moral accountability, real accountability. Not, I just saw on one of the videos, not just some wishy-washy letter by Welby on this fancy headed notepaper that just kind of allows him to sort of bow out and sort of makes out that he's doing. And somebody said in the interview, oh, it shows he's a good man that he stepped down. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. He knows he had to step down. It doesn't show he's a good man by stepping down at all. It's revealed that he didn't care that there were more victims. That's what the story appears to be anyway, unless I've misunderstood it or it's been mistold or wrongly told. It doesn't show anything about being good at all. He didn't have a choice. But that's not where it should end. It should end with victims of that criminal, the victim personally suing Welby in his personal capacity for the level of negligence he showed. That's what it strikes me as, unless I've misunderstood what's going on here. But as my friend said, people like him, they get away with it. They're sort of protected. They're very much protected. People like Welby. And the others, would be other high-ups there, other bishops as well, would have known, wouldn't they? And now it's politic for them to say, oh, Welby's got to go. But there's going to be many others, as Gavin Ashenden said in this interview, there'll be many others that knew just as well as Welby knew. So what about their accountability? But accountability, not just to sort of wring their hands and write some faked up letter because they've been put into a corner and they have to say something, but to be actually accountable. If not criminally accountable through the criminal law, then through civil law, through actions of being sued for negligence and the harms that were caused by their negligence. I just thought I'd say that about this, and it was strange because I was at the church today and it just came up at the end. And yeah, I'll leave it there. So that's that. I want to do another video about the last part of section 7 in the private eye. article. I don't know if I'll do it today. I haven't tuned into what's happening at the Thirlwall inquiry either. I just felt quite tired today, and maybe I'll just catch up in a couple of days' time. That's another whole debacle or charade, a horrific charade, although, that I haven't looked on Twitter, so I don't know what people are saying that Dr. Jane Horden has said at the Thirlwall inquiry today, but I'll have to catch up maybe tomorrow. And Dr. Joe McPartland, they're the two that found suboptimal care and did not find signs of intended harm. And then tomorrow it's Jayaram. But I just might leave it for a couple of days and then just catch up and then see what they've revealed or not revealed, or see how the inquiry itself has shepherded them to keep the fake story going, because that's what they're doing. That's the charade, but they haven't been wholly successful in doing that. But you can tell every time that they do it. You can tell when they're directing. I'm talking about the KCs, the barristers, when people are going off script, as it were, or saying things which obviously play into or appropriately feed into Lucy Letby's obvious innocence. And you can see and hear when the barristers try to get them back on track, to get them back into the fake story, which is what that Thirlwall is meant to be addressing. It's addressing a fiction. So it itself is a fiction, purporting to be changing or eventually reporting on a matter that didn't happen. The layers of untruth, the layers of unreality there, and they can turn up and do it day by day and get paid for it huge amounts of money probably. And it doesn't seem to turn a hair. They don't turn a hair, they just do it. How do they do it? Well, in the same way that it seems perhaps an odd juxtaposition comparing it, but I think it's a similar mindset, in the same way that Justin Welby can just say, well, oh yeah, we mentioned it to the police, knowing that the police aren't following it up, and knowing that the criminal, John Smythe, victimising further people in various African countries, while Welby's going about pontificating about climate change and all sorts of other things, and Brexit, and playing this person of high moral rectitude, trying to teach people about morals while he's doing that, while he's allowing that, and thereby facilitating it. So there is a correlation there, I think, between that and a Thirlwall. I'm talking about the individual and the people that are around that inquiry, the structure of it. There's a correlation that they can split themselves in that way and believe themselves to be doing something, or apparently act. It's acting. It's theatre. But it's very dark theatre. But anyway, I won't go on too much. So I just mixed up the kind of issues there. But I think there is a bit of a connection in some ways, in terms of how these authorities, so-called, the great and the good, the people that they wheel out to look into these things, and people that climb up these greasy poles of these different organisations, well, there's no mistake that they're chosen for those roles, that Welby got where he is, where Thirlwall was chosen. There's no mistake. There's no mistake. I'll leave it there, and I think I'll leave it till tomorrow to do to complete reading through the Private Eye article number 7. There's a number 8, which is covering the the book that's been written recently by two Panorama or BBC quote unquote journalists. I don't want to do anything I don't want to say anything about it, not a word about it, which I think is I've forgotten the word I was going to use now. It's, where it doesn't have to be done. What is that word? Where it's not fallacious, not spurious. Can't think of the words. Anyway, there's a word. I think it's got. Well, you don't have to do it. It's not necessary to do it. There's the letter that Mr. and Mrs. Letby wrote to the hospital, which is it's a very sad, heartrending letter about their daughter. I don't know whether that's it's if it doesn't do any good. I'm not doing videos about the subject for the sake of it. I've had some communications, as I mentioned in the video last night, with a person, they don't want to be named, who's had some interactions in terms of freedom of information requests and complaints with regard to the BBC Panorama programme in relation to Lucy Letby. But I'm waiting, I think, until I'm hoping to get some freedom of information requests back that are well overdue now. And I don't know if I mentioned that last night. They're well overdue by 150% of the time that they're meant to have returned the answer or said we can't do it, we can't give it to you for whatever reason they might, but they're just nothing for 50 days. And it's odd. It might just be that they're swamped with FOIs, and they probably are. I think there's loads of people been sending FOIs, loads of people. I know there's lots of people have been in relation to the Countess of Chester Hospital. But I wanted, it's all to do with the statistics over these years, but not only the years that the trial covered, but years before and years after, and claims made by whomsoever, claims made by the NHS, claims made by the prosecution, claims made by the BBC, by Panorama, and the reliability or otherwise of the information that's coming out of the NHS and the information that was brought to trial. Because I can certainly, I've said it in previous videos, I can certainly see issues there already. But I'll leave that for a bit. I'm losing focus now, but I'll leave that for a bit later on, I think, just to see if I can get these FOIs back. And if you do want to read, and it is a very sad and upsetting letter, Mr. and Mrs. Letby's letter to the hospital, so worried about their daughter, their only child, then you can download that on the Thirlwall inquiry. And it's also, if you look at one of the previous videos, that account on Twitter, Jabe's Allowed, Jabe has put it, I put the link down there where you can get the easily readable, because Jabe's done this huge amount of work transposing all that testimony into an easily readable form and putting it all in date order as well. So that's an amazing thing they did, and I think they're doing that as on an ongoing basis. Anyway, take care and have a good evening. Take care. Bye.